Is this a great church or what? A little louder, please. Thank you. It came in the usual light brown mailing envelope and sat on my desk underneath a pile that had been prioritized with care. Such packages are no strangers to ministers, people in the helping professions, and published writers, among others. I would get to it during some free time. That means open it, at least, but not necessarily deal with the contents. When I first started out in ministry, every piece of mail seemed like a new revelation, and every package held an unexpected gift. Not unlike my own children at the time, every mail carrier was Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. Now, a bit more seasoned and cynical, every envelope hides a request for money, and every package a hope for promotion of a product. Every not-for-profit seems to know my name. This was not the kind of fame I envisioned for myself, saving whales and hawking snake oil. Then there is the time factor. Now think about it for a moment, if you will. How much mail do you get each and every day that actually elicits a response from you? What about emails and text messages and voicemails and newsletters and flyers and free trials? I am not talking about responding because of a due date or a deadline. Instead, I mean being moved to the point where responding changes both writer and recipient. I am talking about transformation. Perhaps this is one key to loving what is, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So there is that envelope bulging to be opened, taking up much needed space on my cluttered desk. In a moment of weakness, I open it expectantly. Sure enough, it is a free copy of yet another self-help book. A letter that tells me I have been especially chosen to receive the book accompanies it. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that countless others have been especially chosen too. Hundreds, even thousands, but all special. So here's this new book ready to be tossed unread to the shelf of books that will ever rest in this virgin category until the title catches my eye. It's called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Yeah, right, I think, as I glimpse my schedule, consider the calendar, redo my ready-to-do list, and try to remember the names of my children. What's to love? Then the book baits me a second time. Both the letter and the book's introduction are written by someone I revere, Stephen Mitchell, a scholar and writer venerated by Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, and others. My old friend Steve is recommending this read, I persuade myself. Perhaps if I just skim a little. Now, that would usually be the end of it, but this direct mailing aimed for the heart and found its target. I resonate with the message once I realize that the title, Loving What Is simply a rephrasing of the teachings to love one another and to love your neighbor as yourself. That is really all there is to what is. You know, love, me, you. Have you ever noticed that so many self-help books, whether helpful or not, simply recast ancient wisdom into postmodern pablum? First, strip away any reference to religion or reason. Save its contents, but forgo its form. hide its origins, and then proclaim your discovery. After my fall, it was Byron Katie that teaches this know-it-all a thing or two. First, it hurts to argue with reality. Simple enough on the surface, so why do I spend so much time trying to shape the world in my own image? At first, I thought it was just a survival mechanism, and to some extent, I suppose it is. Mostly, it's just a lazy way to live. It is so much easier to fashion a world that works for me than to find my own work in the world. It is less dangerous for me to afflict the comfortable than it is to comfort the afflicted. It is far more efficacious for me to know you than it is to know myself. Now, the trouble is, if I carry on like this long enough, I am constantly tense and perpetually frustrated. I am, in effect, arguing with reality every time I choose heads over tails, when in fact both sides of the coin exist. This is no way to live. To love what is, I must stop arguing with reality. But how? This is where Byron Katie's 4 or 5 questions come into play. When a stressful thought enters my mind, I sit quietly for a time and then ask myself these questions. Is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? What does it feel like to believe that thought? Can I find a stress-free reason to keep that thought? Who would I be without that thought? The answers to these questions are then inverted, what Katie calls turnarounds. Here is an example of the process for stressful, fearful thoughts. Me, and this isn't true, by the way, but me. My spouse doesn't love me anymore. His eyes wander frequently when we're in public. He never listens to what I am saying and turns the TV up when I try to talk to him. We go for days without saying a word to each other. Each of these statements becomes the subject of inquiry or asking the questions I just gave you. Let's take the first statement. My husband doesn't love me anymore. Katie would ask, is this true? And I say, yes, it certainly is. He goes out of his way to avoid me, even around the house. He hates the television shows I like to watch and fails to appreciate the music I listen to. It's true. Oh, yes, it is true. Katie, are you absolutely sure it's true? And she goes on, are you saying your spouse no longer shows you any affection whatsoever? Or does he express his love for you by doing things around the house? Or by simply leaving you alone? Are you asking for his affection? Me, I shouldn't have to ask. He's my husband, after all. But I'll admit he does help around the house, often without being asked to do so by me. He keeps the mechanics operational and landscaped the yard last year. So I guess my answer to, are you absolutely sure it's true, is that no, I can't read his mind. So I can't be absolutely sure it's true, but it's often true. Katie, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? Me, I'm miserable. I'm fearful that he'll leave me. And then I become irritated at the whole world. I want to give up or have an affair. Katie says, give me one stress-free reason to hold on to that thought. Me, I can't really think of any reason, as it makes me feel like I'm not good enough. Katie, who would you be without that thought? Me. I would be happier in my marriage, my work life, and feel like I could accomplish more than I currently do. I would be free from fear. Now come the turnarounds, the point where we turn around our stressful thoughts. Here are 3 turnarounds, possible turnarounds, that make this clear. My husband does love me. I don't love my husband. I don't love myself. Then it's time to sit quietly and lose that stressful, fearful thought that your mind is obsessing on. With inquiry and turnarounds, this is possible. Second, it helps to judge others. In fact, such judgments should be harsh, childish, and petty. Now, some of you are thinking, Greg's done enough work in this area. Don't try to be wise, spiritual, or kind. Instead, be completely honest and uncensored. Say out loud things you have only thought. What happens to me when I go deep enough is that it is usually not the person that stresses me. It is my thoughts about the person that have had me all tied up in knots. How can I ever know if what I think is anything akin to who or what someone else actually is? I cannot. And to do so continues only stress and more stress. The effect of judging others is not to condemn them, but to confront myself. I see who I am by seeing who I think other people are. Eventually, I realize that everything outside of me is a reflection of my own thinking. My mind is the projector of all my thoughts and stories, and what I can change is the projector, not the projected. These thoughts come at will. Third, it pays to mind your business. The author notes that there are only 3 kinds of business in the universe: mine, yours, and God's. So as long as I keep my mind on my purpose and my hands to myself, I am content and in good stead. Oh, but it's so much easier to run your life and God's world than my own. Now, much of my own stress comes from living outside my own business. My child should be doing more chores. My husband needs to take better care of himself. My friend needs to get a job. The neighbors should stop drinking so much. My parents should visit their grandchildren more often. Whose business is it anyway? Oh, but I don't stop there. I worry that we live in Tornado Alley. I am sickened by homelessness and hunger. It's not fair. What if I pick the next flight to be commandeered by terrorists? These worthless wars have got to stop before children get recruited and the draft is reinstated. It's all just plain wrong. Universe, what in the world are you doing? Now, if I am in your business or God's business, the effect is separation. I feel lonely or hurt when I try but fail to control others, whether human or divine. I am left with the one person that I have been avoiding, me. I am left with the one person I have been avoiding. That's me. See, if you live your life and I am living your life, then who is there to live mine? We're all somewhere else. Being in your business keeps you from being present to your own life. I am separated from myself, wondering why my life doesn't work. Stop arguing with reality. Judge others in order to see yourself. Mind your own business. Do inquiry and turnarounds. If you do, you'll end up loving what is. It's knowledge as old as the good news and as new as Byron Katie. Give yourself a gift for Christmas this year. Give yourself back to you, to the glory of life.